If you're finding trading impossible, you are not alone. But I want you to know something very, very real. You're doing all of the work behind the curtains. The audience just hasn't arrived yet. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why. And by the end, I hope you'll see things in a very different light and realize the promising truth about where you actually are in your journey. Now, I say this over and over again, that trading is 10% about the technicals and 90% about your psychology. Think about this for a second. If it's 90% psychology and 10% in the charts, then most of the changes you really need to make are in your mind. You can't see these changes take place. But if you keep turning up and keep doing your best, they will happen. So let's dive into the trading psychology side of things and see what really takes struggling traders all the way to profitability. Now, I want you to understand something very important. Your brain is plastic. Whenever you mentally rehearse your plan, review your journals, and reframe losses, what you're actually doing is strengthening the circuits in your mind that execute future wins. And at the same time, you're quietening the circuits that drive impulsive, emotional losses. Now, what does that all mean? Well, it means that consistent practice literally reweights the pathways in your brain so that eventually you're conditioned in that the disciplined choice becomes the default. In other words, you do the reps today, you put in the hard work now, and your brain lays the wiring that pays you later. Now, I've thought about all of these elements in great detail over the last 8 years since I started trading. And I've often thought that if you had a neuroscan on a trader's brain over long scale, you would almost definitely see different pathways opening up. So remember this, next time you skip a trade because it doesn't feel right, next time you further your discipline, next time you scan through your journals, next time you're lying awake at night and you just can't sleep thinking about your trades, what you're doing here is literally opening up new pathways that all connect to one another. And in doing so, truly bridge a gap between where you are now and where you want to be. Now, there's a very difficult, harsh, and sad truth about trading that you need to know. Trading progress, growth in your equity curve, and your P&L is unfortunately a lagging indicator. And the harsh reality is most people quit before that signal prints. As you probably know, living within this gap is painful, it's horrible, it feels like eternal suffering. And I'm truly speaking from first-hand experience here. I've been through it all, I've been battle tested, and I've come out the other side. Now, there was a key mental exercise that I used personally to get me through the hard times. So I'm gonna give that to you at the end of this video, but first we need to get some things out of the way. You need to understand a truth in trading. Growth happens in the hardest areas. Now, if you're a lifter or a gym goer, you've probably heard people say that the real growth happens once things get painful. In other words, once you're pumping out those last few reps on the bench, those are really where most of the change takes place. So I want you to reframe things in your mind. If trading feels impossible, if you feel like you're in a very tough spot, if you're stressed, if you're experiencing suffering, then good. That means you're in the place where most of the growth takes place. Now let's dive into this analogy of a gym goer or lifter in a bit more detail because I think it's particularly useful to what we do. You don't have to have a deep level of understanding of sports science or bodybuilding to know that when you lift in the gym, micro tears take place. What happens when those tears take place is you're lifting, the tears are taking place, you're weaker tomorrow, but you're stronger next week. Now apply this logic to your trading. When you're having drawdown, when you're suffering through losses, all this is delayed gains and delayed increase in strength. And I promise you, stay in the ring, stay on your A game, turn up every single day and you will see the results. Now, I know how hard this can be. I really do. Like I say, I've been through it all myself. But unfortunately in this game, we pay tuition for a skill that only pays after it compounds. Now, if you're in this rut, if you're in this phase of uncomfortability, feeling like trading's impossible, feeling like you've given it your all, you need to dig deep. Muster up that inner strength and cultivate that inner patience. This game will test you like no other, and in particular, it will test your patience. Now, I often use the analogy of a seed planting a tree. If you were sat there every day in front of the seed that you planted, watching this tree grow, it would feel like it was taking an infinite and insufferable amount of time. And that's essentially what's happening The market isn't testing your setups. The market is testing your staying power. The market is testing your strength as a person. It's testing your discipline, and it's testing your patience. So dig deep. Cultivate that inner strength and realize that the changes are taking place. You're just not seeing them. Think of a Polaroid. You've just taken the shot, you've just taken the picture, and right now it's blank before the image appears. Unfortunately, most traders and most people on this endeavor throw away that Polaroid before the image shows up. Do not do this. I'm talking as someone who has been close to that ledge countless times, thought about throwing the hat in, thought about completely abandoning it, thought about giving up and just starting afresh in something completely new. And if you're anything like me and you try to do this on your own and not at a firm, then it is incredibly magnified by this sort of echo chamber of loneliness. Those that are at prop firms have mentors and they tell them that they're on the right track every day. Give them a pat on the back. Tell them to keep going. And if you're trying to master this craft from your bedroom, it's a completely different thing. Most people look at traders at established firms in the cities with a high degree of respect. But in fact, those that are retail, those that are trying to grind things out from their home, I have so much more respect for, because it's isolated, it's lonely, and you have very little in the way of positive reinforcement to keep you going and keep you motivated. So I want you to know this. Practice self-kindness. Use that pride and kind rationalization to negate any low self-esteem that you're probably feeling. I've said it before, as long as you're turning up, as long as you're doing your best, as long as you're putting the time in to really think about stuff, review your journals, integrate those learnings, then you're on the right track and the hard work will pay off. Just stay at your game. Now, like I've said before, P&L is unfortunately a lagging indicator. So what are the leading indicators? It's all of the stuff that falls under the umbrella of discipline, patience, stringency, etc. Sticking to your plan, focusing on the process, not the profits, having, say, fewer emotional spikes per week or less impulsive entries, not over-managing your positions, honoring your stop loss, taking reduced size, taking a wider stop, not checking your position every 5 minutes once you're in the position, and letting the trade breathe. You know, all of these variables are hard to quantify, they're hard to measure, they're hard to document, and they're hard to feel the progress that you're making. But these are the small incremental psychological shifts that really compound and build super successful traders. Now, myself, I'm still on this journey of understanding my own mind and mastering my mind, mastering my psychology. But if you're still watching this video, then I can guarantee you are on the right track, because focusing in these areas, focusing on what's under the hood, is the stuff that actually moves the needle and makes a fucking difference. Now, earlier in the video, I said that I'd give you a mental exercise that got me through the really tough and especially challenging days in my journey. So to elucidate and illustrate this, I want you to go back to the concept we spoke about earlier in terms of neural pathways. Now, using this visual image, we can start to see our losses as wins, start positively reframing things, and really move forward. So next time you lose a trade, next time you're experiencing cortisol, stress, angst, depression, low self-esteem, I want you to close your eyes and picture those neural pathways forming in your brain. Because every time you feel those negative emotions, every time you feel that sinking feeling in your stomach, your brain is conditioning you. Now, the mind is so much more powerful than you can ever know. It in itself does the work in the background. And if you're experiencing pain and suffering, it will condition you so you don't feel those negative feelings in the future. Now, I want you to picture a neural pathway forming from one bad trade, and then another, and then another. Picture these pathways connecting to one another. Hundreds of them and thousands of them are all linking up and joining. And in doing so, what they're doing is bridging the gap from where you are to where you need to be. Now, to you, this may seem like a silly visual image or exercise, but to me, I'd go as far as saying it's pretty much changed my life. And without the ability of drawing from this illustration in times of hardship, I don't know I can say I'd be here today talking to you. So I truly hope you use this technique and that it helps you. And at the same time, I truly hope you can muster that inner strength to persevere. Stay in the ring and you will prosper. Now, I hope you're starting to understand the grave importance of grit, psychology, and mastery of the mind. If you want to keep leveling up, I've put together a video that talks about the most valuable mental resource as a trader. It's a bit of a hidden secret that the pros use to stay on their A game. So what are you waiting for? Click here and get stuck in.